The topics choice that will be examined in the thesis come from the desire to make known the multifaceted world of childbirth and birth, highlighting how the concept of delivery and birth changed. Specifically, it was examined the Western world, the folklore of Southeast Asia and South American society. The last 150 years of Western history is full of revolution in the obstetrics field. Among the most culturally relevant are MAP or medical assisted procreation, abortion laws, and the practice of C-section. In Italy, as well as in other southern European countries, the attention to childbirth is very strong, both on side of women always more aware of their choices and on side of health policies that increasingly seek to improve the condition in which delivery takes place. In this, the role of midwives is often ignored and relegated to physical intervention. Instead, every future mother should be aware that the midwife is an essential figure for a peaceful pregnancy and a respected birth. One of the areas in which she is specialized is breastfeeding. The WHO promotes breastfeeding as the best nutrient source for children from birth to 2 years, recommending exclusively breastfeeding until the child reached the 6th month of age, and only then the introduction of solid foods. Breastfeeding is interdependent to pregnancy, labor, and childbirth. It is important to facilitate the starting of breastfeeding by favoring a natural approach centered on mother's emotional support. There are 3 main determinants to overcome the difficult start of breastfeeding. The 24-hour rooming in, the baby in the same room as his mother from the very beginning. The use of practices promoting exclusive breastfeeding. Breast attachment as soon as possible, within 3 hours after birth. The Southeast of Asia is a spiritual land with roots in 1,000-year-old traditions. Even in this distant and remote region, the world of birds is intertwined with tradition, religions, and colorful cultures. In this area, for over 30 years, works and lives a figure who has dedicated his life to welcoming and caring for future mother in need, raising the idea of gentle childbirth and serene welcome of the newborn, Ibu Robin Lane. Ibu, whose name in Indonesian means mother, was born in the United States from an Asian mother and an American father. In 1992, she married Will, and together they moved to Bali, where begins her apprenticeship at the age of 36, with an English midwife who moves to her house. In 1994, Ibu founded a non-profit association, Yayasan Bumi Sehat. Bumi Sehat is a counseling center for mothers and families, where midwives, nurses, doctors, and volunteers fight against poverty and malnutrition to ensure a healthy pregnancy, a respectful birth, and a happy welcoming of new birth. Regarding South America, the analysis shifts to the problem of differences in access to maternal and neonatal health present across the country. The South American population is mainly composed by 3 ethnic groups: indigenous, descendants of African and European origin population. Coverage with moderate contraception, prenatal care, and qualified birth attendant, 3 of the main reference factors utilized to evaluate health coverage for women and children, was lower among indigenous women. In 2010, the Health Department of Ecuador has drafted a revolutionary document, the Guía Técnica para la Atención del Parto Culturalmente Adecuado, a manual about the importance of culturally adequate childbirth close to tradition and customs of indigenous peoples. At the beginning of 2000, the Ecuadorian scientific community began to focus on women's reproductive health. The efforts made were mostly focused on clinical and medical level. In the following decades, it became clear that the most obvious and massive disparity which made indigenous and Afro-Ecuadorian women increasingly distant from choosing public structure was a cultural gap. Many indigenous women could not choose public health structure because it was not possible to carry on their tradition inside them. Considering the obvious country's tendency towards multi-ethnicity and multicultural, the guide's central aim is to pay more attention to women's cultural needs and tradition rather than to clinical and practical aspects.